listeners. Welcome back to another episode of Set Schedules Meet the Agent. We'll be getting to know in-depth knowledge from our best partner agents, speaking to them about working with Set Schedule and working with clients in general. If you have any feedback, please don't hesitate to send an email to media@setschedule.com. We hope that you enjoy the episode. And today I'm joined by Lisa Mehlhoff, an expert partner agent of ours who works in Portland, Oregon, and the surrounding counties. Thank you for joining us, Lisa. How are you doing today?
I am well. Thanks, Alan. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I appreciate you asking. And I definitely appreciate the fact that you took the time to attend here today. Could you give us a little bit more insight into what you feel are the main priorities that a real estate agent should take?
Yeah, absolutely. As a real estate agent, it's really about the client. Every client that is in front of me has a different past, a different experience with real estate. And so taking the time and asking questions of your client, their hopes, their wants, their needs, and just navigating from there, I believe that my job as a facilitator to get them to their dream into reality.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And I think that if you could you please share with us the background, the history that you have working outside of real estate? Because I feel like it does definitely translate very well into real estate.
It does. It does. I'm a former educator, and they say statistically that former educators make great real estate agents. And it's working for me. But I got into education. I grew up in a small town, and I never had a phenomenal teacher. I go off to college and everybody's writing about your favorite teacher, and what inspired you to be a teacher. And I had the realizations like, I'm here because I never had that, and I want to be better and do better. And I taught 8th grade science for over 10 years. And loved my job as a teacher. And then, the progression of life, I had a child and he was born with some medical needs. And I could not commit to education the way that I had before having my child. And I enjoy being busy. I enjoy people and relationships. And also I love real estate. And I started thinking back to my first home purchase. And it was very similar to my educational process. It was okay. It was very mediocre, nothing outstanding. I got a great house, but I don't feel the buying agents, there was no attributes that she brought into making the process great. And so I thought about it. It's like there are millions of agents. Everybody knows an agent or 2 agents, or if you don't know an agent, that a lot of the roles of being a real estate agent are just being underserved. And so I just, with education, I wanted to be better and do better than the other agents out there. And so when people say, do you have an agent or do you know an agent? Yes, absolutely. I know Lisa, she's great, call Lisa. And so I wanted to be imprinting on people that there are some really great agents out there. That's how I'm still here after 14 years.
Yeah, amazing. And I mean, I think that you definitely are an encapsulation of the kind of real estate agent that is needed, because like you just mentioned, it's about making sure that you develop that relationship and bringing that value. With that being said, what are some mistakes that you've seen younger agents make?
Yeah, we've had a really fortunate in Portland, just speaking of my pocket here, a great market to buy and sell. And people are seeing that houses are going quickly, and new agents, young agents, they get into their buddy down the street is selling and they're having success in that, they can just fall into it and be a successful agent. So I think that is the biggest mistake that I'm seeing young agents or even older people falling back and saying, oh, I could do real estate. Everybody could do real estate. It's such an easy job. And it's just not. If you want to be a good agent, it's not easy. You have to have a skill set in so many different areas. For me, it's not sales, it's relationships and understanding all and everything that encompasses it. there's a piece of sales, there's counseling, there's negotiations, there's transactions, there's marketing, there's relationships with other agents. And so it's a lot more than opening a door and signing a contract and collecting your paycheck.
Exactly.
That's why there's a lot of nutrition rates. You know, a lot of agents start, but then ask them if they're still in it 3 years from now. And I don't know the statistic, but it's high that agents don't succeed and they get out of it fairly quickly.
And so, I mean, I really appreciate the fact that you've taken that responsibility upon yourself to make sure I need to be the best agent possible. I need to be the best agent in the area. How is it that you're able to do that consistently in terms of getting feedback and getting constructive criticism? How is it that you keep that ball rolling?
Well, I want to clarify the best agent. I don't need to be the top producing agent. I do have a solid book of business, but I'm the best agent for my client in front of me. And I serve my clients. And if I get so busy, you know, I am willing to pass it off or ask for help. There's a lot of people who don't want feedback because they know that they aren't giving everything they can. And so they're afraid to ask. And so if you're afraid to ask, that means that you have a fear that you did not give your client everything that you should have. So you have to ask and be open to the feedback, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so asking, and then if there is anything that you have missed along the way, apologize and then do better the next time. It just goes back, to education, that, you know, people should be constantly learning, lifelong learners. And that is how, you know, I've navigated until now, is that the market's changing, clients are changing, technology is changing. So you have to adapt and you can't be stuck in a defined role. And so asking the questions of the wants, the needs, and the hows, and how to get there. Because we're all humans. Got to figure it out and adapt.
Exactly. I mean, another question here, as you mentioned, there are so many moving parts at play. Number one, I mean, for us at least, one of the most important ones being the technology that comes into play. Can you give us a quick rundown of different technologies and different strategies that you've had to incorporate with this pandemic that's happened?
You have to be open to being in front of a video camera. And not everybody wants you in the house at first. And so having the Zoom calls, the FaceTime, and being in front of the camera, that is the first piece that you have to be open to. And then selling a house is a lot more expensive on my part. That's coming out of on a list. When you take a listing, there's agreed commission. And so more of my proceeds are going for the marketing. I've always had beautiful pictures. I've always done HD pictures, but now we're having to do the Matterport. And so the technology where you're walking through and it's opening doors, that's an extra cost, more video of the house, floor plans. And so just really being creative too. And then there's the social media aspect of pushing it out there, because people were very hesitant of getting out of their own home and going into somebody else's house. So you have to bring the house to them, and it's not easy and it's expensive, but it's people, you know, that's what we all need right now.
Exactly. I mean, it really is about adapting and being able to kind of gel to the needs of your clients. Actually, it brings to mind kind of a funny story that you had brought up previously. You said that being a real estate agent at times also means being a marriage counselor. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I'm just going to make up names, you know. Sue and Bob, first-time home buyers, they have very different opinions on what they want a house. Bob wants a garage. She wants a big yard, or, you know, just a fence or whatever it may be, but they have a budget of X dollars and you can't get everything that you want. And so just being able to have them prioritize what it is that are deal breakers, and then what are their hopes or wants or nice to have. And so we put it in columns of the musts and the maybes, and it would be great if, and just navigating that. And it's interesting when you're buying a home. It's very emotional, and you got to be able to sit back and just facilitate the process, because it's not my house. I'm not the one having to put down the down payment and get out the mortgage, but I want to make sure that when they're signing the papers that they feel good about it and they have not settled too much and are not going to be in that house for the 5 to 7 years that it takes to really recoup the money and ride the market and the closing costs that it costs to buy a house.
Do you have recommendations on how to best get that information from your clients? Because like you just mentioned, especially with first-time buyers, they might not even necessarily know what they want. So how's the best way to get on the same page with those kinds of prospects?
It's a skill set, but a learned skill set. Not everybody is great at it going in, but when we're talking about the roles of a realtor, is being able to listen and ask the questions. Being reading, there's some great books out there of how to get your buyer to turn it into a maybe to a yes when they don't know it, and just asking the questions. I have a buyer, I showed him a house and they have 10 requirements, and this house needs everything that they want, and they still don't know if they want to write on the house. And so, you got to circle back and said, well, you wanted the garage, you wanted the fence, you wanted the 3 bedrooms, the 2 baths, you wanted hardwood floors. This has everything that you have. Why are you not ready to write an offer? And maybe it has nothing to do with the house. It has to do with, well, you know what? They realize that their job might be at risk, or one of them is going to, all of a sudden they're thinking about a condo, and just stepping aside and helping them, just asking questions. And it's not easy, and it takes time, but I'm in no rush to get my buyer into a transaction until they know it feels right. An average person looks at 15 houses. And so I have that mindset that, I'm a math person, I used to teach science, 15 is the average. I could be showing them 30 houses, or I may show them 2, but they have to feel comfortable and trust me when they see the house and ready to write.
As you mentioned, real estate is all about relationships. How do you keep that connection going past the transaction? How do you make sure that they're a client for life moving forward?
I wish that I could say, because I am just brilliant and I just remember everything. But, I'm a single mom, I'm a realtor, I like to golf, I like to travel. And birthdays, sometimes I forget my family members' birthdays. So you have to have a system. And so the things that are important to me that I want to celebrate with my clients, I make sure that I put it into, we call them CRMs. It's a management system for you to remember those things. And so when I get a client, I put the dog's name, the cat's name, and birthdays and anniversaries, or favorite colors, or favorite flowers, because I can't remember everything. I can't remember phone numbers, but I want to. And so having those backup systems so I can be there. And I set a time every single day that I'm working to make those connections. And because I want to. Those are the fun calls. It's much more fun to call and tell them, happy birthday or happy anniversary or congrats on the baby that I've seen that you have, and it's a girl, than dealing with a repair negotiation and it's going sideways. And so that gives me my warm and fuzzy out of some of the times, when you're deep in the trenches of real estate, of contracts.
Since you bring up the trenches, how is it that you avoid getting demotivated?
I start with the stuff that feels good first, doing the easy calls first. So then you're on a high. And so then when you get something going a little sideways or not as warm and fuzzy, you just go back to, you have more of a reserve. If you have a bucket, fill the bucket first. So then you can have room to do some withdrawals. It's not easy though. You need some thick skin, and just know that it's not personal, because they don't know me. I'm hanging up on telemarketers all the time. I get bothered. And a lot of time it's just timing. If you're calling people you don't know, it's really about, in that moment, that person is ready to buy or sell. It has nothing really to do what you say or that magic spiel that you have. It's just in that moment and sparking on something that's triggering them that they're going to work with you. but I don't know if it's necessarily a skill set as opposed to timing and just being a listener. I'm not great with cold calls. I have to do them because our business is it's spoke, and so you have to have spokes out of all different branches, and it's just a small part of my business, but I do it.
You, again, having your science teacher background, is that you do, take into consideration the outside factors, because for so many agents, it becomes very easy to say, oh, well, this person didn't return my text message. This person that I've never spoken to didn't return one of my 4 voicemails. It's time to move on to the next. But like you just mentioned, having that mindset of, well, what relevance does this person have to me? What makes them different from a telemarketer? It really, I think, puts it in the right perspective and gives you that approach, that ability to continue to move forward and continue to reach out.
For the prospecting, maybe the phone is not your best suit. Maybe it's knocking on the door. Maybe it's a pop by to the expired or the for sale by owner, or just your neighborhood. You're canvassing the farm. So if you don't like it on the phone, the more you do it, the easier that it gets. But maybe stand in front of the door and knock on it. Find out, what works for you.
Exactly. Play to your strengths, as you were mentioning, and bolster your weaknesses or, potential not so strengths with technology or, different systems in place. As you mentioned, there's kind of an issue with inventory. Are you finding that you're writing multiple offers for prospects, for clients that you're working with?
Absolutely. I built my business, and it's pretty balanced between buyers and sellers. So I have, when I'm representing a buyer, I know what I've seen in other offers, and vice versa. When I am representing a buyer on a listing, I know all the other stuff that is coming in and the tricks that agents are doing. Tricks. I think I joked with you, and we talked earlier. It's like, I'm not gonna give away my tricks. Let's keep something relevant, and what keeps me important, my clients coming back. I believe, regardless of money, the end of the day, the seller is going to take the offer that is the highest. But, the seller still has to have the home appraised. And so if we have 5 offers that are close to the appraisal value, what can you do to make it a better offer? You just hope that your client has a conventional financing. And if not, if it's an FHA, as an agent, building a package with shortened contingency, so talking about shortening the inspection period, just making sure the agent that you have is able to deliver on that. I've been doing real estate long enough in Portland where I can call my home inspector, said, can I do a 4-day inspection period? Can you be there tomorrow? It's a yes or no. And then if I can, we will write for a quicker. But you have to be proactive. You have to be, as a buying agent, calling the listing agent. Don't send a text. Don't send an email. Call the agent and communicate what is the seller's wants, because you can come up with, sending pizzas for a year, which used to be popular 5 years ago, and find out that the seller's gluten-free. So that pizza is not going to do anything. And so maybe they just want an extra 5 days rent back free, but asking rather than hypothesizing what would be best for the seller and just going with that. If it's, you're up against purchase price and you can't get past that, and maybe buying as is, you're still going to inspect, but, buyers willing to take on the property in the current condition, or buyers willing to take on, this is kind of a newer thing because buyers are a little hesitant to take it on as is, but maybe the buyer will pay the first $2,000 of any sort of repairs, and anything above that, then we would ask the seller to come back to. But, just keeping conversations going.
Exactly. And I think that's something else that you had mentioned here previously, was that real estate isn't just how you connect with your clients, but also how you connect with the other agents in the area, right?
Yeah, yes. And a lot of agents get their ego involved. I'm representing a buyer and I call them and ask them something, and I'm on the phone with them and they say, we aren't going to do that. Well, there's no we. You're not the seller. Can you at least pretend to go and ask the seller? And so taking the ego out of it, that it's the buyer, at the end of the day, it's my buyer's choice and it's the seller's choice on what they want to do. And just listening to your clients, because I may think that they're not going to want to replace the electrical panel, and then I talk to seller and I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely, we need to do that. That's been on our mind, and we thought that might came up. And so just asking questions. There's so many people now that will not pick up the phone. They send a text, they send an email. People are busy and you don't want to go. You could have just saved, a half days of work by picking up the phone rather than sending 15 emails. And I pick up the phone and I hear it time and time again. The other side is like, oh, I'm so glad that you called. You are the only agent that has called me and I have 10 offers. And then I make sure that all my partners are calling too, and not being afraid of the call, because at the end of the day, if the other agent does not want to take your call, they won't answer the phone. So you go to voicemail, but you know that you've done your job to the agent, that it's important.
Exactly. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for all the insight that you've been able to provide, Lisa. We are running towards the end of our time here together. Do you have any last quick notes that you'd like to share with any prospective clients that are interested in buying in the Portland, Oregon area?
Happy to help. Grateful to assist. Not all clients are the same. I would love the opportunity to answer any questions that people have about Portland buying. Even if this video comes across anybody across the country, I'm with a company and we have a national and international presence. So I can get you connected with an agent. Set Schedule can get you connected with agents that have experience, because not all agents are the same. And if you are ever uneasy about anything along the process, ask questions, because a good agent should be able to answer your questions and take the time to explain. In Portland, it's a great area. We are getting a little bit of a bad rap, but we're busy here and it's a pockety area, and there's a lot of good still happening in Portland. So I just want to leave you with that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for all the insight that you've been able to provide and all the tips and tricks that you've been able to recommend for our listeners at home. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Meet the Agent. As always, we'd love to hear any feedback you'd be willing to share. You can send a quick email to media@setschedule.com. You can also connect with us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe to more content like this by going to youtube.com/setschedule. Again, this is Alan Perez, your host with Set Schedule's Meet the Agent. And until next time, have happy selling. Thank you.